Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Friday, June 21st, 2024. Fire potential impacts for the next few days are shown here. The main impact for today and tomorrow is increased moisture in place over central and eastern Utah. We saw some of those storms move in yesterday. The moisture will increase today and expand in coverage to include really points east of the central Utah mountains here. On Saturday, the storms will continue, but will be quite a bit more isolated and more limited to just the eastern border. And then on Sunday, we have some winds coming in to portions of western Nevada and southwest Idaho that we've highlighted here. The air mass there will be quite dry over the next couple of days, and then some lingering isolated storms with that moisture in Utah. Okay, the past 24 hours are shown here. We did have some thunderstorm activity. The thunderstorms have continued overnight and into this morning over southeast Utah. Some precip did accompany these storms and higher relative humidities. These lighter greens in here are about an inch of rain, so some heavier storms associated with, or some heavier precip amounts associated with some of those storms. Great Basin fire activity is shown on this map, a smattering of new IA across all points here. We had 16 fires for 199 acres and 11 acres of new large fire growth. Observed precipitation for the past 7 days on the left and percent of normal for the past 30 days on the right shows a continued dry pattern for much of Nevada and Utah, even up into portions of southern Idaho. Really, it's been quite dry everywhere for the last month or so. Aside from a few storms here or there, and then the central Idaho mountains have received a little bit more than everywhere else, but fairly dry. This doesn't show the precip from yesterday in Utah. Taking a look at our ERCs for a couple of areas here over southwest Idaho. Again, the blue line is the observed values through present, and then the green line is the 7-day forecast. So that shows where we are, just sitting right below the 80th percentile here, and we'll be increasing to remaining above normal as we head into the next 7 days with a warm and dry, very dry air mass up there. And a similar story in western Nevada. Those values in green here are above average for the time of year and will be leveling off just a bit, still remaining above normal there. ERC point map is shown here. We can see we still have pretty high values across southern and eastern Utah. Some of those stations that did receive a little bit of precip yesterday, and especially the higher relative humidities, are starting to come down. We'll see more of those dots decreasing over the next couple of days as well as the air mass moistens up there. It is kind of a short-lived precip surge here, so we'll be drying out again by Saturday into Sunday. And then values across the north will be continuing to increase. This morning's satellite imagery shows that trough of low pressure still in place, kind of centered over Nevada for some cloudiness and little bit of storminess there, but then also the main bulk of moisture here in eastern Utah, warm across the area. So for this afternoon, looking for dry conditions across the north and west with the moisture in place over eastern Utah. No high risk has been issued. Probability of precip is shown here on the left. Again, looking for the best chance of those storms to develop today over the central Utah mountains and points eastward, including the eastern Arizona Strip and western Wyoming. Very low relative humidities across Nevada and the west deserts of Utah, even along the Snake River Plain. Fire potential will remain high in those areas with lower fire potential across the east. On Saturday, the moisture will decrease a bit. A high pressure ridge starts to build in over kind of the southern points of the Great Basin and the desert southwest. So keeping things pretty warm across the south and really warm everywhere. And dry across the north and Nevada and across Nevada and western Utah. Lingering moisture over eastern Utah on Saturday. So the probability of precip on Saturday just showing a slight chance of some isolated storms over the higher terrain in eastern Utah. Very hot day on Saturday with highs near 100 degrees in Boise and Reno. Just a touch warmer cooler on the east side. And then on Sunday, there's a little trough that skims the Canadian border here over the Pacific Northwest that will increase winds over western Nevada and southwest Idaho. We do have high risk for some of those winds. They're not super high, but definitely given the heat and the dryness that's been in place over western Nevada, we wanted to highlight that. And then the high pressure ridge sort of remaining over the southwest Four Corners area, keeping temperatures very warm down there. Limited moisture remaining again on Sunday for some isolated storms. Okay, so for Sunday, taking a closer look at those wind gusts, again looking at winds 25 or so miles per hour with the gusts. Could be a little bit breezier in some areas, so that's including western Nevada up into southwest Idaho. Even the upper Snake River Plain of Idaho should see some gustier winds as well. Probability of precip really decreases on Sunday across much of even eastern Utah, but there is a slight chance remaining over the south central Utah mountains and the Arizona Strip. 30-day precipitation totals are shown here. This is really mostly today with the storms that we're expecting to continue to develop throughout the afternoon. On Monday, continued warm and dry pattern is expected over the Great Basin with high pressure just to our south. On Tuesday, same story. The high pressure builds a little bit further northward into the southern Great Basin as a trough develops off the Pacific coast here, keeping things very warm, very dry, and possibly expecting some breezy winds to continue over western Nevada. And on Wednesday, the high pressure remains in place across the southwest, and that trough opens up a bit over the Pacific Northwest. We should expect to see some increased winds over the Snake River Plain in northwest Nevada as that trough moves inland a bit. And we're just keeping an eye on this high pressure ridge here, seeing when we might see some deeper moisture move up into the Great Basin. On Thursday, that low kind of develops a little bit stronger, opens up and moves across the northern Rockies, keeping temperatures a little bit cooler across the north, and some breezier winds continuing to move in as well. We do see some moisture move up into eastern Utah by Thursday next week, but doesn't look like that moisture moves too far north or westward into the Great Basin, but still remaining in place over that eastern Utah section. 7-day precip totals are shown here. Most of this is occurring today, but we do see some enhanced precip as we move into that Thursday time frame that I was just highlighting, with a little bit more moisture drying up into eastern Utah. And an extended forecast for June 28th through July 4th, still calling for below normal temperatures over the Pacific Northwest and heat pretty much everywhere else in the country. Below normal precip is expected over Utah or over Idaho and Nevada, but we do continue to see this monsoon signature here as we head into that 4th of July period, which is kind of a normal timing for the onset of the monsoon. So we'll be keeping a close eye to see when the moisture really will move into Utah and how far into the Great Basin it will move. But we are starting to see those trends. That concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.